Hiya lovely people, welcome to episode 13 of the Owl About Yarn podcast. Lucky for some, hopefully lucky for me, hopefully I won't completely mess it up. I am your hostess, I am Jenny, and I will be talking to you about my knitting and spinning and sewing this week. It's been 2 weeks since the last podcast. If you're joining me again, thank you very much for coming back and spending some time with me today. If you're trying the podcast out for the first time, I hope I'm not talking gibberish today and that you like what you see and come back and talk with us some more. I am known as Jenster79 on Ravelry and Owl About Yarn just about everywhere else, including my Etsy shop, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, where else? Oh, WordPress, and the show notes will be in the Ravelry group in the thread for this podcast episode and also on my WordPress blog. So, I don't know how long today's podcast is going to be because I don't feel as if I've done an awful lot. I haven't been out and about very much anyway. Although I'm sure we did something at the weekend and I can't remember. I've been thinking about it while I was getting Erin ready for school this morning. And I'm sure I had more to tell you, but I haven't got many notes written down. So, it could be just a short and sweet podcast. We'll see how it goes. But then I said that before and it ends up being an hour. So I am aiming at less than 40 minutes. We'll see how that goes. I've got my little timer down there that's telling me how long I'm taking. So I'll try and cut back on the waffle a little bit anyway. And I've got my glass of water because, again, I seem to have a croaky voice this morning. Anybody would think I don't use my voice in the mornings. It's probably overuse, trying to get Erin out the door in time for school. Although she usually is pretty good about getting ready for school because she still loves it. So Erin is my 3-year-old and she started nursery, where are we now? October already, it's the 2nd of October. So nearly a month ago, she's been there nearly a month and she absolutely loves it. In fact, it's 4 weeks today that she started. So yeah, she's having such a good time. She loves her teachers, she loves all the other little kids. Every time she sees any children walking to school outside our house, because we're on quite a main road on the way to school, so we see everybody going and coming back, she's leaning across the windowsill saying, they're my friends, there's more of my friends going to school. So that's really lovely. The boys are enjoying school at the moment as well. My oldest has just got a part in the school play, which will be happening after Christmas. So we're really thrilled about that because he's usually quite quiet and shy. But I'm really hoping that this helps him to come out of himself a little bit. And my younger son, I think, is going to be in the chorus. So although he says he doesn't want to do singing and dancing, he only wanted to do acting. So we'll have to see how that goes. But they're both at high school. There's quite a big gap between my sons and my little girl. There's 8 years, I think, between my second son and my daughter. So, as you can imagine, she gets spoilt rotten. But most of you know this already because you've heard me talking about them before. That was just for new viewers. So today I have works in progress to show you. I have some finished objects to show you. And I have a little bit of shop news, but not proper shop news because I haven't done an update yet. And some loose ends. So if we get straight on into it to the works in progress, I have 3, according to my notes, to show you today. The first one is a hat. I'm knitting for my oldest son. Now he chose this fibre. If I show you the yarn first. He chose this fibre. It was John Arbon. It's a merino and Zwartballs mix, I think, and it was called Fibre Starter when I bought it, but he's changed the name now and it's called Bracken, and it's lovely reds and oranges and yellows and browns in the fibre, and then it all blended together to give this gorgeous autumnal bronze and orange and brown all mixed together. So Jack chose this fibre from my stash for me to spin to make him a hat. And I cast it on, and it's just going to be quite a simple pattern. It's I can't remember, I think I cast on 80 stitches on 4 or 4.5mm needles, because it's roughly an Aran weight and I wanted it to be reasonably dense fabric. And then I've just done a few little purl bumps here and there to give it a bit of texture and a bit of a tweedy feel to accentuate the yarn, really. So that's going to be a really nice warm hat for him for the winter, because during the winter we are lucky enough to be going to Norway for a holiday, and so I've taken it upon myself to make sure that all of my family have nice warm hats. And then if I get through all the nice warm hats, I'm thinking probably mittens would be a good idea, or cowls perhaps, because scarves take too long and boys won't wear shawls, but, well, my boys won't wear shawls anyway, but I might just about get them into a manly cowl. Maybe. I'm thinking I've got some enough of my nice yarn for my husband to make him a hat and possibly a handbrake cowl, one of Kay and Dan Jones's patterns from the Bakery Bears podcast, and I think that that would be good, because then he can be properly wrapped up right into his chin, from his coat up to his chin, and he'll be nice and insulated. So that's my first work in progress. That doesn't have a designated bag at the moment because I'm just sort of slinging it into whichever bag I'm taking out with me. I took it to the park the other day. Rob had a half day, my husband had a half day on Wednesday, took me out for breakfast. Then he came home and picked Erin up from school with me because she finishes at 11:30. She only does a half day for this year. Excuse me. And then we took him to work after lunch and decided that because it was such a nice day, because it's been beautiful weather this week, it's been nicer than the summer. It's so typical of British weather in the last few years. We've had a fairly yuck summer, and then this last week has been glorious. Not the warmest, it's been quite snappy in the mornings, but I mean, I'm looking outside my window now and it's just clear blue sky. I can't see any clouds. There's a bit of very thin, you know when it's very thin white because it's been misty in the morning, but that's really, really high and that's going to burn off soon, I think, as well. So to take advantage of the nice weather, we packed Erin's balance bike and her helmet in the boot of the car and went to a local park once we'd dropped my husband at work in town. And she had a little go around the park, but she got a little bit fed up and wouldn't let me carry the bike after a while. She was getting a bit tired. And so, as I say, she wouldn't let me carry the bike, and rather than getting off and walking and pushing the bike, she was sort of shuffling the bike along, but at a snail's pace. So I ended up walking and knitting, because I can't walk very fast and knit, but at that pace I definitely can, and I got a good few rows done. By the time we got back to the car, I think I'd managed about an inch, because that was really how slow she was going. So I'm glad I had it in my bag, because I get very impatient. I'm not the most patient person. I really struggle with that, and I have to bite my tongue a lot with the children. So because I had my knitting, she was able to take her time and look at every berry on every bush and every changing coloured leaf on the trees, and every time a leaf fell down off a tree she was excited. Oh, it was special. So I was, because I got my knitting, I could just amble along, stop whenever she wanted to stop and look at a blade of grass, and be quite happy and contented. So yeah, but anyway, so the long and short, that's just been living in my handbag or my rucksack or whatever I'm taking out with me each day, so I haven't got a designated bag for it, but I think I will have to find something so that it doesn't get messed up. So that's my first work in progress, and that's taken me to 9 minutes because I've been waffling. I apologise. I'll crack on. Number 2, I have cast on a jumper for Erin from the purple hand-spun merino that I had. And I think it's going to be a reasonably quick knit. It's a self-designed jumper, so I did a gauge swatch and everything. I was very grown up. And I cast on 100 stitches on 4.5mm needle, and then I swapped up to a 5mm needle Well, it was supposed to be when the rib was finished, but in the interests of total truth and transparency, I forgot. So it was about an inch after the rib finished. I switched to a 5mm needle, but I don't think you can tell. It's just a more gradual transition into the stocking stitch section. And so far, this is what I've got. And I've done her 3 little owl cables on the front, so that's going to be on her tummy. And then I'm going to put buttons for the eyes. I've got lots of teeny tiny little buttons in all different colours. Oh, the light's gone funny. There we go, that's better. I've got lots of teeny tiny little buttons in all different pastel colours, so I'll decide whether I want to have 3 different sets of colours, or whether I'll have 3 sets of blue eyes or 3 sets of lilac eyes. We'll have to see. I'll try it out. I'll probably sew them on when I've done a few more rows, just because it'll be nice to look at. Do you know, you get that satisfaction of seeing that. But I do have some stitch markers. Aha! I couldn't find my nice progress keeper marker that I made. I can't remember which project it was on. Was it on... Oh, it might have been on Erin's Tallulah. I'll have to go and look in the bag I was using for that, because that would be good if I could find that and use it. Anyway, I have a very elegant plastic stitch marker which we'll use for this one, and I'll swap it out if I find the pretty one with sparkles, and then we'll be able to see how much I've done by next week. I'm hoping, because I've got a fair bit of time in the car over the weekend, so I'm hoping that I might get quite a lot of this done, and especially now it's more or less straight stocking stitch. I might do an owl on the cuffs of the sleeves as well, because I've done an owls jumper, the Kate Davis design. I've done her a couple of owls jumpers before with the owls all around the yoke, and I've got one myself, but I wanted to just make a very basic jumper for her, a very simple construction. So I was trying to think of a lace pattern that I could use, and there was one lace pattern that I knitted on a baby hat for her a few years ago, which was like a flower, a plant with a flower in the middle, and I was looking for the book that that pattern was in, and I think it was a library book, and it's gone back to the library, so I couldn't do that, because I was going to do that just all the way around the bottom above the rib. But as I say, I can't find that lace pattern, and I couldn't find one online, and then I thought, well, actually I want this to be a really cosy jumper, so maybe cables are the way forward. But the only cable patterns I could find that were only just for a small section, because I didn't want the whole jumper to be cabled, the only cables I could find were knitted sideways, and then you pick the stitches up and knit up, and I didn't want that look for it. So then I thought, well, what if I just do some owls? She likes owls, I like, obviously, owls, so we'll do that. So that's what I did. And I think yesterday, because I took this to Knit Night yesterday, which I'll talk more about later, yesterday I think I was on the rib, I had about a row left, and I knitted all the rest of that up to halfway up ahead while I was there, and then I've knitted the other half of the head and started on the plain stocking stitch section this morning, because I got up a little bit earlier than I usually do, and had some time before I had to make Erin some breakfast. So that is living in my Paddington Bear bag, which I got from bakerybearscottage.etsy.com, and I love it because I love Paddington. I grew up with Paddington, so that just makes me happy. So that's that work in progress. And thirdly, and finally for today, I've been giving my sock yarn blanket some love. The one knitted just out of my yarns that I've dyed. And please excuse the ends, I haven't woven them in yet. So last time I showed it, I'd got just a little under 2 rows, and now I'm halfway through the 4th row. So it is growing, and it's just such an enjoyable little project, you know, with it's like dozens of tiny little projects. You finish one and you get that little bit of satisfaction from finishing just one square. Whereas if I did that much knitting on a normal blanket, you wouldn't feel you got anywhere. But yeah, there is just something happy about this one. So again, I have a very elegant plastic stitch marker, and I'm going to mark the last square that I knitted, so that when I show it to you next time, you'll know that that was the last one you saw, and everything since then is new. I'm just going up in rows. So I've made a bit of a dent in my bag of yarn as well. If you remember, I showed it and it was full to the brim, and now it's down a little bit. That's the end of my key shawlette yarn. It's yeah, there's a bit of a hole in there. So, and I've arranged the next few yarns in order for this row. I've got a long knitting needle, one of my old straights that's a bit knackered anyway, and I've threaded all the balls of yarn on for this row so that I know which colour I'm doing next, because it doesn't work for me if I just pull a random colour out, because I like to make sure that they're not too similar, the colours that are right next to each other, so I do take a little bit of care. And when I had my dyeing day last week, I dyed myself up some new mini skeins. Well, those are a bit too dark. That's a lovely purple if I could get the colour right. Well, that's purple anyway, like a properly violet purple. And that's a purple and a really dark plum. And then I've got some blues and a green. And I've got a couple more of mini skeins that I dyed up, but they're for a different project, which hopefully I'll have started next week and I'll be able to tell you about. But that does mean that I need to get a fair bit further through Erin's jumper, and I need to finish Jack's hat. Otherwise I've just got too much on the needles and I get overwhelmed and I won't get anything done. So yeah, this is still living in the massive tube bag. It's not going to be much longer. I think I'm going to have to find a bigger bag for it to live in, like a sweater sized bag, or even make one. You never know. I have to get the sewing machine on the go again. Finished objects. I have forgotten some of my spinning. I'm looking at this John Arbon green fibre I've got written down that I finished spinning. I think that's the tealy green that I showed last time that I was spinning, and it's probably in a box over here. I've got all my hands spun. No, I spun it for the shop, so it's in a box waiting to be listed over there in the shop. I'll put a picture of it up. I was really pleased with that. It, as always, John Arbon's fibre is lovely to spin. It drafts so beautifully because it's so thoroughly combed and prepared in the mill that it's smooth like silk. It's smooth like butter to spin. It's just it's just really, really nice. Anyway, so that was my first finished object, and I got, I think it was somewhere around 365 yards for 118 grams, or that might have been the one that was 140 something. It'll all be in the show notes. I completely forgot to write it down because of rushing again this morning, so I do apologise. But it was more than 100 grams, I know. My other spinning that I finished was this. I think I showed you the fibre last time. This is my own hand-dyed fibre, and the light is doing funny things. I really, really need to invest in a daylight bulb for this room. I did look them up on Amazon, but I wasn't, oh, it's gone again, but I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to be buying. I need to take the bulb out and check whether it's a bayonet or a screw fit, and then sort it out, because that light's pathetic. But this is, it was a properly shocking pink fibre. Oh look, there you go. Shocking pink and black. And then there were bits of grey where the black faded into the pink. And I did a fractal spin with this, so I split the braid in half all the way down through the length of the top, and then the one half I spun like that, the other half I split into thinner pieces and spun them one after the other, and then I 2-plied it together. And yeah, I was really pleased with that. That again is just short of 400 yards. I think that was 360 something as well, or 300 I think this one might be 346, because I remember one of them anyway, and I think it was this one, was just short of 700 yards of singles, because I count that as well, because, yeah. So this is going to be going up in the shop as well. I just need to remember to put it in the box of things that I need to take pictures of and put it up. I think it's roughly double knit to Aran. It's really squishy and lovely. Oh, I jumped then. The postman always surprises me, and I think he just sort of hurls things through the door. So it makes me jump. Wherever in the house I am, it doesn't matter. Yes, what was I saying? And breathe. I think this would make really nice accessories. It's Blueface Leicester. I don't think I said that. It's very soft and it will be very warm, so it would make great winter warm things like a hat or a cowl or a shawlette, or maybe some mittens. There'd certainly be enough for that. And I'm very tempted to keep it, but as my stash is almost certainly in the exceeding life expectancy range, I can't keep everything I spin, and especially because I'm enjoying my spinning so much, I'd never knit through it all. So some of it has to go in the shop or be given away as gifts. Maybe I'll do a giveaway sometime soon. I haven't done a giveaway for a little while. I'll have to see what I've got and see what I can make for you all. Anyway, my next finished object is a hat for my younger son, Ben, my 11-year-old, and he does have the same sized head as me, pretty much, so this isn't going to be out of the realms of possibility for being too huge. But this was made from my hand-spun yarn. It was Wingham wool work. If you remember, he picked out, I had a bag of broken tops from them at Wonderwool in all these different colours, and he picked that out and said, oh, I really like those, can you make me something with that? So I spun a yarn designed to be self-striping with all the different blues, and I did slightly different amounts of each one because I didn't want the stripes to be uniform, and as you can see that all came out well. Perhaps if I just put it on, that would be better, wouldn't it? So, and it's made a really nice sort of slouchy hat. I used almost every single bit. This was all that I had left by the time I got to the end. Yeah, it's a really nice sort of slouchy beanie style hat that he can pull. If he's cold, he can pull it right... Oh, I need a haircut as well. He can pull it right down and there's still some room. Or if it's just a little bit of a warm that he needs, he could turn the brim up and have it a bit more of a... And this was just a simple, I think I cast on 88 for this one, and then it's just stocking stitch because I thought the stripes are enough detail on their own. I don't need to do a pattern with that, and I haven't given it to him yet. I'm debating whether these hats are going to be Christmas presents or whether they'll get given to them sooner. But either way, I think I'm going to wait until I've done a hat for each of them and give them to them all in one go. So that's why I want to crack on with Jack's. I've then got some red and lilac handspun for Erin. It's predominantly red, there's a little bit of purple going through it, so they all picked their own colours that they wanted me to spin for them. And I will be knitting her a mock cable hat with that one. So again, that's probably between an hour and a bulky weight, so that'll be a nice warm hat for her for the winter, and I'll probably make that a little bit too big as well, just so that it can be pulled right down so she can just see out. So yeah, so that's my other finished object. What else did I have to tell you about? I finished the cardigan. I said I wasn't coming back until I'd finished it. I finished it! She's actually wearing it at school today, So I can't show it to you, but I will put a picture up. I was so relieved when it was done, so relieved. Just being able to look at a different colour other than nuclearly bright red is lovely. So this lovely muted orangey brown and Erin's lovely purple have just been so soothing to my eyes. It's been gorgeous. So I finished that, I can't remember if it was last weekend. I think it was somewhere around last weekend. And she was thrilled to bits, and she is insisting on wearing the 2 hand knit cardigans to school, alternating one with the other when the one's in the wash and the other one isn't. And the school jumper, the official school jumper that I went and bought for her, is being kept in reserve just in case both of them are in the wash. So yeah, my vanity has been suitably boosted by her enjoying my hand knits. And yeah, she's a girl of good taste, definitely. She's just desperate to learn to knit and be able to do it all. So I was doing some sewing yesterday, and I'll be telling you about that in a minute. And she came in, and I've got a pincushion. Where is it? It should be on the table still. Yeah, here we are. My friend Sarah gave me this pincushion for my birthday. And I'd got pins sticking out of it because while Erin was in school in the morning, I'd been doing some sewing. And she very carefully, if you can see, took all the pins and put them in a pattern all on her own, all around the pattern on the fabric. I thought that was ever so sweet, so I thought I'd tell you about that. But yeah, she's desperate to be making and doing, and she just can't wait until I let her learn to spin and teach her to knit. And yeah, it's lovely. She wants to be doing what I'm doing. So it's I hope that she does. I hope that she takes to fibre arts, because it would be lovely to have somebody in the house to share that with when she gets bigger. And it's one of those things, isn't it? If you learn as a child, then you probably go off it while you're a teenager and you're all busy with your friends and busy with school and all of this. But you come back to it then. It's always there. You've always got that skill to come back to. So it's, yeah, I do hope she does, because the boys, they've sort of expressed passing interests in learning to knit and crochet, but it's not taken with them. They've sort of struggled along with 30 stitches on some needles trying to make a square. Or the last time they did it was when Erin was a baby, and I set them the task of making her a hat between them, and I was just going to have them make 2 rectangles. I was going to sew them up the 3 sides and have one of those cute hats with the peaky bits, you know. But it just got to the stage that they weren't bothered at all, and they were doing half a row and then handing it to me to finish it and fix all the mistakes, and their hearts weren't in it, so there was no point in pushing them with it. If they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. So, but Erin really does want to. She loves to be sitting on my lap while I'm spinning, or holding the ball of yarn and unwinding it for me while I'm knitting. She just wants to do what I'm doing, which is lovely, and long may that last. So maybe I'll have an apprentice in the business before you know it. So yes, I've been sewing, and I don't have both of the bags I made yesterday here to show you, because one of them I made as a birthday present for my friend Heidi. So again, there'll be pictures. But I did upcycle a jeans leg, and I made this fibre bucket. And it's just soft. I haven't reinforced it, so it's easy to pack away. But I put a loop on it, because I have a sticky uppy bit at the front of my spinning wheel, and you'd be able to hook that on if you wanted to store it, and you'd have your fibre in there and just be able to pull out the top or the roving as you're spinning it. So I was quite pleased with that. So that's just, like I say, it's an upcycled jeans leg. I've done a box bottom, and then I've lined it with complementary material, and then done a folded cuff and stitched it all down around there. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. I'll definitely be doing some more sewing. The bag that I made for Heidi was, again, it was a box bag, but with a drawstring top. She's a spinner. She's not a spinner, rather. She's a knitter, not a spinner. And she knits quite a lot of socks. And so I made it to be a large sock-sized bag. A little bit bigger than, excuse me, my Star Knits bag. So this one, a similar sort of style. So it had a box bottom. You see, this is a sock. Oh, it's got some of my yarn in it still. Look, some hand spun from when I did my Bon Bon Bunny, my first one. Yeah, mine's a little bit different on the bottom, but so it's a little bit bigger than this one, the one that I made for Heidi, the one that you'll see in the pictures. And I've put channels on it for the drawstrings rather than incorporating it into the actual fabric of the bag. But I was really pleased with it. I took quite a lot of time and was... Oh, it's making me look really, really tanned again. That's the light. I took a lot of time to make sure that the top stitching was really, really neat. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll have seen the pictures I put up yesterday. I don't have an electric sewing machine. I have a hand-cranked, vintage, I think you could probably call it an antique Singer sewing machine called Susie. And I love her because she sews through anything. So when I was sewing this, if you can imagine, when I'm going across the jeans, the denim hem there, so I'd got three, I don't know, would it be 3 or 4 thicknesses of the denim, and then I'd got 2 thicknesses of this fabric as well, and she just went straight through it, no problem. Now, my mum's sewing machine used to complain if you put fabric too many layers through, and it would just stop and refuse to do it, but she's fab. So I, from time to time, think, oh, I should really get an electric sewing machine, I should. But then she does pretty much all that I want. The only thing that I don't like is that I can only have one hand guiding the fabric through. So, because it's hand operated, so I'm literally pushing it through while I'm cranking. And yeah, so there's only the one hand guiding the fabric. But other than that, and a little bit of a squeak, so I need some sewing machine oil. Other than that, she's perfect. She was my mother-in-law's, and my mother-in-law gave her to me, so I was pleased to have her. And she's just sitting on my ironing board over there. I cleared the table off so that there'd be room to put the camera on to talk to you all this morning. So later on, after I've podcasted, I'm planning on cutting out some more fabric to make some more bags. I'm going to do more of the box bags with the drawstrings and the channels and that. And then I'm going to be buying some zips online today or tomorrow, and next week I'm hoping to learn how to make a zippered box bag as well. So I'm developing my skill sets, and because I'm hoping that when I go to fibre festivals, hopefully next year I'll start doing that I'll be able to offer, as well as my yarn and fibre that I'm dyeing, I'm hoping to be able to offer other things that knitters would find useful. So obviously I've got my stitch markers that I make already. I'm hoping to sew up some bags to take, and I think there'll be reasonable prices, because as far as I'm able, or at least there will be a range in reasonable prices, because as far as I'm able, I'm using reclaimed fabrics a lot of the time. So like this one used to be a pair of jeans. Well, it was below the knee of one leg of a pair of jeans. That's obviously saving me the cost of going out and buying the fabric for the outside of the bag, so that cuts down on the cost that I have to pass on to the customer then. So yeah, hopefully it'll be a reasonable price range, and it just increases the appeal, I think, the curbside appeal they call it, don't they? When people are looking at my stall, there's just more to look at than, and hopefully a little bit more variety than maybe some other stalls. Just trying to think about it from this point of view. So and I have got a few other things up my sleeve that I'm thinking about making, but they might be secret until a little bit nearer to the time. We'll see. It's all exciting. So I'm finding it very exciting planning for these festivals. I just need to decide if I definitely want to do them, which ones I want to try and do, and whether I want to just do one in the first year or whether I want to try and do 2 or 3. So I've got to try and work out how much time I'd be able to commit to doing all the preparation, because obviously it'd take a lot of work to get ready for the shows. But I think it's going to be one of those things where you just learn as you go, and I'm just going to have to do the best I can before the first one, and then learn from the inevitable mistakes that I'll make getting ready for that first one and actually being at it, and move forward from there. Try not to get discouraged by all the inevitable mistakes that will happen and move on from there. So what else did I have to tell you about? So that's my sewing, which I really enjoyed. I just had so much fun doing that, and it was so satisfying because I've not been that into sewing before. I focus more on the knitting and the spinning and everything, but I can see me really getting into that. I do have quite a lot of fabric because I go through these fits and starts, and I'll see some nice fabric in a shop and I'll think, oh yeah, oh, I'll have some of that, oh, I could make such and such with that, oh, those black quarters are pretty, I'll have some of them, and I'll do something cool with it. And so I've got a fair bit of fabric, plus, as I say, the reclaimed fabric. So whenever the boys have had really cool and funky shirts, my husband really likes Hawaiian shirts, so the boys, when they were younger especially, had lots of really cool patterned shirts, and they don't get that much wear, so there's decent fabric in there that it just seems a waste to just chuck them or have them go to one of these clothes collection people where they just scrub it all down into felt or something. I don't know what they do, but I decided that I'd try and reuse them anyway, so I've got piles of things to sew up and make into interesting things that other people won't have, because it's all fabric that wouldn't have been available in fabric shops a lot of the time, and yeah, just trying to make things that are a little bit different anyway. So I think that's all my finished objects, including my sewing, and I've told you about that. So shop news, I did have a couple of dyeing mornings last week, and I showed you my mini skeins. I dyed up 4 colourways, which are these, but I haven't reskeined them yet, and so that's why they haven't hit the shop yet. This week seems to have just flown by. I don't know what's happened to it, but I don't seem to have had any time to do this sort of thing. Now, I have been trying to do other things as well, so I made some stitch markers, I made some progress keepers, I've bought some beads, so they've been coming in slowly in dribs and drabs because I bought quite a lot of beads for stitch markers and other projects, so that's probably why I haven't got to this, but I'll try and get to it by early next week and get these in the shop. So these are the 4 new colourways. I've got 2 more speckly ones because I really liked how the last ones came out. So this one is solid purple at the ends and then speckled purple and pink through the middle, and this one was dyed, and it was dyed a very light purple to start, and then I over dyed with the solid purple and the speckles. This one was dyed a very light turquoisey blue to start, and then over dyed with the speckles and some solid turquoise there. And then I've got this one which was black and pink and a little bit of grey in the middle, and it sort of fades from one colour into the other, if you can see at the bottom, and that's on a sparkle base. And then this one is blues and turquoise, more or less half and half, I think, this one. So once I've rewound them, thought of names, taken pictures and written up the listings, they'll be in the shop. I also spent a morning dyeing fibre because I had a pile of sparkly merino and silk and stellina fibre to dye up, and I decided just to spin up just to dye up all the fibre that I had. So I did 4 new colourways with the remainder of the sparkle, and there's this one which is a gradient, so it goes from, the colour's not coming out very well, oh, it's gone yellow again, why has it done that? So it's teal, that doesn't look teal, but it's a deep tealy green, and it goes through to sky blue and then through to tealy green again. I really like that one. I really like them all this week actually. And then I've done, oops, don't want that to fall down. I've done this one which is more patchy, hand dyed, hand painted rather, light blue with some navy blue and some dots and dashes of purple in there. So that's almost like a speckly dye for fibre, if you could imagine that, but I don't think a speckly dye would really come out very well, so I did sort of a splodgy dye instead. And then this one I really like. I'm not very modest, am I? I mean, there's an extent. How do you do it when you've got to publicise yourself? So you've got to talk about your product, and if you're pleased with what you've done, there's no point saying, oh, you know, it's all right, because you want to sell it. So let's just get past that. Yeah. So I did black, the majority black, and then there are pops of colour. So there's pink, turquoise, purple, and then this deep royal blue again. I really like that. I'm quite tempted to keep one of those. I'm almost hoping that that doesn't sell, so that I can keep it and spin it for myself. And then my final one, which was my favourite, is, oops, it's just coming undone a little bit there, hang on, is this one, which is, I'm going to call Autumn Rainbow, because you've got red through yellow to chestnutty brown, dark brown, and a really nice olivey green. And I really like this one, and I have kept one of these for myself. So I just need to decide how to spin it now. That might be a fractal spin again, because I'm quite enjoying the 2-ply fractal spins at the moment. But there are, I think, 4 of each of these, and 4 of each of the skeins of yarn, which will be going up in the shop, as I say, hopefully early next week. I've done some more stitch markers, so I've got some cake themed stitch markers going up, and some sparkly ones, and I think I've got some TARDISes in there. I'm umming and ahhing about whether to put the progress keepers up. I think I'd probably be best not, because they're only going to be little cheap things, so they'd be more like add-on purchases rather than something you go and buy on your own, because you're not going to spend £1 on a progress keeper and then pay, well, if you're in America, what is it? It's, for a large letter it's something like £3 something postage, so there's no point in doing that, and it's just, yeah. So I think I might keep the progress keepers for festivals and just sell them there and make them as gifts. Or maybe I'll make sets of crochet stitch markers, because then you got 5 and you could use them as 5 separate progress keepers. We'll see. Sort of thinking out loud really, aren't I? I should get on. So, going into loose ends, there's not an awful lot that I wanted to tell you about this week. I'm taking part in the Fibre Share Swap, which is, I think it's based on Instagram. They've obviously got a website where you go and sign up, but you have to be on Instagram, I think, to take part. And I noticed somebody posting about it when the sign-ups opened last month. So I went and signed up. I've been assigned my partner. I'm sending to a lady in California. I think that's right. She's definitely in America. And I found out who's going to be sending to me, and that's a lady in the Netherlands. So that's very exciting. It's always exciting to hope to get things that you haven't seen before. So I'm going to try and put together a really nice parcel to send off to America, and I'm going to try and do that soon, because obviously it takes a little while for parcels sometimes to get across the Atlantic, and I want to beat the deadline and not have her waiting and wondering if anything's going to turn up, so allow a little bit more time. The only other thing was something that I spotted online, which was so cool, and I really, really want it. So have you heard of Murphy beds, the beds where they go up into the wall, they sort of tip up? You see them in, I got a feeling they might be more common in America than in Britain, because my only, not experience, my only sight of them really has been in comedy shows where somebody gets stuck in the bed and it gets put up and they're stuck in there, and yeah, we don't have them here really, I don't think. But somebody's actually made a Murphy bed which folds up into the wall and then looks like the TARDIS sticking out of the wall. Oh, I really, really want it. So I saw it, and then I emailed my husband and I said, well, I want to make that. That would be perfect for my office, which is where we are now, because I have a single bed, so that if we have guests, we've got the extra bed. So I can't get rid of the bed, but it does take up an awful lot of floor space. I mean, you can imagine, can't you? It's only a small double bedroom, this one, so a single bed does take up a lot of the room. And it would be brilliant if I could have a bed that folded up into the wall. That would just be amazing. So I said, right, I need to saw the legs off, saw the top off, just keep the frame, and then do some sort of hinge system to flip it up into the wall, decorate the underneath of it to look like the TARDIS, maybe put some brackets on to keep it a bit stronger, and it'd be fantastic. I'd have all that space. I'd be able to have my desk in the window. Oh, it'd be great. So if any of you would like to volunteer to come and make my single bed, which is on a wooden frame, it's a good sturdy wooden frame, so I'm sure it'd be suitable. If any of you would like to volunteer to come and make that into a Murphy bed that folds up into the wall for me, I would be most grateful and willing to pay you in yarn and fibre and cups of tea and cake. The only other thing I was going to mention is that, as I said, Erin is wanting to do everything with me at the moment, and she insists now if I come up and do any work in the office in the afternoons. She used to go and play in her room, which is right next door, but now she's decided that she wants to work with me, so she has to sit at the desk. I've had to bring an extra chair up into my office so that she can sit next to me, and she has her colouring or her letters to write. So I have this little notepad that I was writing in. My friend Heidi gave this to me, so it's nice. It's got a little pencil case attached, and that's what I write my podcast notes in. And she had to have her own mini notebook with owls on the front. She didn't have to, but you know, I indulged her. She was sat there going, I wish I had a notebook like that, but littler. And I did happen to have one. My friend Sarah from Knitting had given me a pack of owl notebooks, I think last year for my birthday, and I hadn't used one of them, so I found that and found her own pencil. So she's been sitting scribbling her own little gobbledygook notes away in that notebook next to me, so it's very sweet. It's nice to have the company. Admittedly, sometimes I wish she'd stop talking for 2 minutes together, but you know, before long she's going to be at school full time, and then she'll be busy doing her own thing when she gets home. She might have after school activities, so I've really got to just make the most of the time that we've got together now, I think, and enjoy that she wants to spend the time with me. So I am enjoying that. I'm thinking about trying to find a way. We've got a small table and chairs from IKEA that the boys had when they were little, and that's up in Ben's room at the moment, but he doesn't use it. It's just tucked away in the window. And I'm trying to think where in here I could put that so that she's got her own desk and she could sit at that, because I do tend to use the whole table. If I'm making things, I use all of my desk to put the materials on, and if I'm doing paperwork, I do spread myself out as well. But if she had her own desk, then maybe she'd be happy to sit at that one and do her work, and she'd still be with me and close enough that she'd feel as if she was doing the same as me, but I'd have space to actually get on. So I need to think about that. Maybe in front of the bookcase I could fit her in. Yeah, that might work. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. Anyway, with that, and just a quick reminder of the Key Shawlette Knit Along, which is ongoing until the end of this month in my Ravelry group. There are prizes and discount codes, so please come and join us if you haven't already. Thank you to all of you who've taken part. there have been loads of finished objects so far. I think that there's got to be about 10 or 12 finished shawls in there, aren't there? Next time I will have a list of honourable mentions, I think, or maybe I'll wait until the end and mention them all. Maybe I'll do a collage then of all the pictures. Oh, getting all full of ideas today. Yes, so the Key Shawlette, which is a pattern by Sarah Millis of Sarah's Texture Crafts, is we're having a knit along in my Ravelry group at the moment, so it would be lovely to see you if you fancy knitting a really nice and simple fingering weight shawl, although somebody's knit it in double knit as well, and that looks really nice too, so it could be adapted. Other than that, I don't think I've got anything else to tell you this week, so happy knitting, spinning, sewing, crocheting, or whatever you're doing. I hope you get some time to relax and do something that you enjoy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye!